What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about Norwegian drinking culture. I'm very curious how drinking in Norway compares to drinking in the United States, like how Norwegians view drinking and alcohol when Norwegians like to drink. You know, one of the biggest differences already I'm thinking about is in Norway, I think you can drink alcohol as young as 18 years old, but in the United States, you can't buy or drink alcohol until you're 21, even though honestly, a lot of people end up breaking that law, strangely enough. So I'm interested also just to see what Norwegians think about drinking. Like in America, drinking can be viewed as very bad, very unhealthy, and yet almost at every single social event, everyone tends to bring it and everyone tends to engage in drinking, and that is considered one of the primary ways in America to have a good time when you're in a social situation. So all these kinds of things, I'm just real curious to learn about how it all works in Norway and what Norwegians think about alcohol. So with that being said, let's find out.
In Norway, drinking culture may come as a bit of a surprise to foreigners. That
Oh,
surprise may also consist of waking up hungover in a daze, partially dressed, and for some unexplained reason, covered in glitter and what appears to be kebab sauce.
okay. Well, based on that description, Norwegians definitely enjoy partaking in drinking and alcohol. Man, I'm certainly in America. You might wake up hungover, maybe covered in glitter. I don't know. Okay, so this is kind of similar.
To say Norwegians don't party hard would be like saying the tax is only a little high in Norway.
What?
It would be quite the understatement.
Well, oh my gosh. Okay, Norwegians definitely like alcohol, according to this. Norwegians party hard. What is that? So Norwegians really enjoy alcohol, basically. Okay.
No, in fact, Norwegians enjoy a drink or two or 15, and those drunken adventures often cross over into business life as well. With the
Okay.
cost of alcohol in Norway so high, there's a local expression that covers Norwegians' approach to drinking.
That's right. That's right. Alcohol in Norway is much higher, right? And some of it is like only sold by the Norwegian state, right? And only at certain times of the week. It's much more regulated in Norway than in the United States. I would not say alcohol is that expensive in the United States. It's pretty easy to get. You can actually buy it almost anywhere now that I think about it. It's very easy to find it and pretty cheap. So in Norway, it seems like it's a little harder to get and a little more expensive to get.
In Norway so high, there's a local expression that covers Norwegians' approach to drinking quite well. That is, being half drunk is a waste of money. So in Norway,
Okay. Okay, I get it. I get it. There is truth to that, especially in Norway when alcohol is expensive. If you're going to drink, if you're trying to get drunk and drink, you might as well, like, that's the purpose, that's the goal. There's no use in just drinking a little bit and just getting a little bit of the effects. If you're going to drink in Norway, it's expensive. It's a lot of money and effort. So you're going to do it all the way, basically. Okay. Okay, that's an expression I did not know about in Norway, but it makes sense.
Norway, they don't go halfway when it comes to drinking. More
Okay.
like all the way and then some. One of
Oh,
my first experiences with Norwegian drinking culture was after attending a business conference in Oslo. With the
okay.
workday done and the sights set on the enjoying the evening, we set out not to a bar, but to a local resident's house. Thus
Oh.
began the Norwegian pre-party, or as it's known in Norway, the Vorspiel.
Oh, the Vorspiel. Norwegian pre-party. This is a thing in the United States. It's called pre-gaming, and it's when you drink a bit at home, like before you're gonna go out, so that you're already a little tipsy, a little drunk. You get a little alcohol in you, so that you're ready, so that when you go out and drink more, you're already kind of loosened up and kind of halfway there already. Norway has the exact same thing. Okay.
This is a critical launching off point for an evening of festivities.
Okay.
Again, because of the high cost of alcohol in Norway, it's a very common practice.
Right.
One must try to get as loaded as possible at home to avoid racking up a huge sky-high bill at the bar.
Oh, this might actually be more important in Norway. Alcohol is expensive in America when you get it at a bar or out at a restaurant. That's true. But in Norway, it's probably even more expensive. So drink at home, drink the cheap stuff at home, and then go out and you won't have as much of a bill. Basically, it makes sense. Norwegians have really thought this through, huh?
Over time, I also realized that when it comes to most things social, Norwegians really needed a few drinks just to get started. This allows them to loosen up a bit and be more open to doing really crazy things, like talking to a stranger.
I've heard this before somewhere. Like, drinking in Norway is a really great way to help Norwegians get outside the box a bit, loosen up, because as a culture, Norwegians are a bit more respectful, a little more reserved, and polite to everyone and their fellow Norwegians. So it makes sense that alcohol is actually very useful to Norwegians to deliberately go a little crazy, get outside the box, loosen up, break some of the social norms, basically, on purpose, with the encouragement of some alcohol. Yeah, in America, I guess that's not as important because Americans are already by nature pretty open and pretty willing to be silly and crazy and loud and party, like even without alcohol. So maybe it's extra helpful to Norwegians. I can easily see that. Okay.
To get to this point, that means a pre-party can actually go on fairly long, without venturing out until well past midnight.
Wow.
Bars and nightlife in Norway are typical to what you might find in other European cities.
Okay.
Just a lot more expensive. Due
Okay.
to this high cost, there really is no expectation for you to buy drinks for your colleagues, although you'll usually be able to pick up one round for the group without too much protest. Otherwise, everyone is expected to be self-sufficient when it comes to lubricating oneself.
Okay, so this is the same as in the United States. I know this is a bit different in the UK, especially in British pubs where people have to buy rounds. People buy drinks for each other and take turns buying drinks for the group. But Norway is a lot more like the United States, where everyone just take care of yourself, buy your own drinks. So I understand that. That's easy to relate to.
For these reasons, it's actually very uncommon to find an open bar at either a work or social events.
Oh, okay.
Additionally, tipping the bartender is also not required or even expected in Norway.
Oh.
Service workers there make a living wage even without your tips.
Wow. Oh, that's an important difference too. Because in the United States, you are expected to tip. A lot of Americans don't like it, and I'm sure a lot of people who are not American think it's annoying as well. The whole tipping culture. It would be a lot easier if their employers just paid them a living wage, but they really do rely on your tipping. I guess it gives an opportunity to build up a good relationship with the bartender so that they will prioritize you. But that's not really a very fun game to have to play with the tipping and the favors, and yeah. I like the Norwegian no tipping, honestly.
So, as we ventured from bar to bar and club to club that evening, I started to make some new friends within our group. This is a nice side effect of a well-oiled up Norwegian. They actually want to talk and get to know you.
A well-oiled up Norwegian. Okay, right. Like, this is a Norwegian stereotype that I actually did a video on, like, literally the other day about Norwegian stereotypes. And one is Norwegians can come across as a little closed off, like a little tough to crack and to get close to. And alcohol fixes all of that instantly. So I bet a lot of foreigners really enjoy that part of alcohol and its effects on Norwegians.
This is your chance to dramatically reduce the time it takes to build a closer relationship with your colleagues and Norwegian business partners.
Okay.
The hard exterior that most Norwegians wear begins to crack in this moment.
Wow.
And new bonds and trust can be established.
Okay.
I made another new friend that night who goes by the name of Akevit, the local Norwegian liquor that's kind of similar to a schnapps.
Akevit. Okay, I've never heard of that. Akevit.
As a foreigner, you will most certainly be encouraged to try, even though most Norwegians seem to kind of hate it. And there's good reason for that. It kind of tastes a little bit like an old shoe combined with a spicy cough medicine.
Okay. Akevit. So Norwegians don't even like it, but that's kind of part of the fun of it. Funny enough, sometimes with these things, it's entertaining when it's not even that enjoyable. And that's part of the joke, where it's like, come on, you gotta drink it to be a proper Norwegian. You gotta drink the akevit, even if it tastes horrible. It's a part of the fun.
So that first shot is likely to be brutal. It will, however, earn you the respect among your Norwegian colleagues with every shot.
Right. I mean, you gotta do it. It's part of building up your image.
After a few shots, you might even realize that you kind of like the stuff. I know I did. That night, and far too many shots later, the evening started to creep into the next morning. But the fun was not over yet in Norway.
What?
As I squinted my eyes, hoping to find a taxi and make my escape, a new friend put their arm around me and excitingly asked me, "Have you ever been to a real Norwegian nachspiel?" Not knowing what I was agreeing to, we were now on to the final journey of a common night of Norwegian drinking.
Nachspiel? After party? Oh my gosh. I would not say this is very common in the United States. Like, you might do a pregame, a gathering beforehand, then you go out to the bars or something and have a good time, and then if it's like late, especially depending on how old you are, you know, it's time to go home at that. It's time to go home. It's like, okay, I've had enough. I'm tired. But and there's really not usually an after party, like a dedicated after party. So Norwegians have nachspiel. I am very curious what this is like.
The nachspiel, or the after party.
Okay.
At this point, it's getting a little bit late or a little bit early the following day, depending how you look at it.
Oh my gosh, this sounds like you'd be out drinking in Norway until 6 a.m.
It's too late to buy alcohol anywhere, so what you do is you head back to someone's apartment and raid whatever they have left. This is the point of the night where things are best described as getting sloppy or borderline absurd.
Okay.
Everyone has had way too much to drink, and it's a bit of a last man or last woman standing type of affair.
last Norwegian standing. Okay, like he said, Norwegians don't do it halfway. Norwegians, when it's time to drink, you drink. That stuff is expensive. It's time to drink. So that kind of explains the reason to have the nachspiel. You just go until you drop.
If you're a foreigner, that probably won't be you, as Norwegians have great stamina in the area of marathon drinking.
Oh gosh.
In Norway, drinking tends to start at a pretty young age, and it's a very large part of college life. Generally, this is
yeah, alcohol is a pretty big part of American college, American university. Yeah, definitely. Alcohol is a huge part of it. But Americans, it really depends how early Americans start drinking. Most Americans don't start drinking until they are... Well, it can really depend. You can be as young as 14 when you enter high school. Obviously, some kids can get a hold of it younger. But Americans will start drinking as young as 14, 15, 16. Even though the legal drinking age is 21, it's honestly so absurd, the drinking age, that's kind of why no one even cares about it in a way. You just have to be very, 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 very careful that you're not caught, because it is illegal. And obviously, I do not condone breaking the law. But from my experience, that is how it seems to go in American culture.
Accepted by society, and in a lot of cases, even encouraged. Norwegians, young and old, also tend to use drinking games as a means of socialization.
Okay.
This gives them an easy framework for interacting with each other. That also really helps as we're waiting for the booze to kick in and more fluid social engagements can start to emerge.
Okay, this makes it seem like drinking is a little more socially acceptable in Norway. Like alcohol has a very hot and cold reputation in America because a lot of Americans do it way to excess, and then there's a lot of Americans that don't feel comfortable with alcohol. But in Norway, it kind of seems like just this healthy, sort of common thing that Norwegians do to let loose and to bond, it seems like.
It's also one of those rare moments when you can engage in some friendly competition with your colleagues.
Okay.
Excelling at trivia, for example, can earn you extra prestige with Norwegians.
Wow. It also seems like a way to bond with coworkers in Norway. Whereas in America, you wouldn't necessarily go out drinking with your coworkers. Maybe some people.
As you attend or host parties in Norway, you may also notice things work a little bit differently here with regard to sharing of booze. In many other cultures, it would be common to bring a bottle of wine for the host and really everyone to share. However, due to that high cost of alcohol in Norway, most gatherings follow a strict BYOB, or bring your own booze policy.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Interesting. In Norway, it's really more of a culture of bring your own alcohol because it is expensive. And if you want to drink more, bring more. Whereas in America, cost is not so much of an issue, especially beer. So people are definitely willing to bring beer and wine that's cheap and just let anybody have it, whoever wants it, because it's not that expensive.
So, as a foreigner, you should not expect to have a drink served to you upon arrival,
Okay.
as you find in many other cultures.
Right.
Perhaps most important to know about Norwegian drinking culture is how to toast your colleagues and all those new intoxicated friends you'll be making. You grab your favorite drink, you raise it up high, and at any time during the night proclaim "Skål" loudly as you can.
Skull. What happens when you go skull? What happens?
This word comes from the Norwegian word for skull, as if in what's in your head. This hails back to the Viking times when it was customary to drink from the skull of your enemy.
Oh.
It's also considered good manners to stare into the eyes of your companions while you toast in Norway.
Ah.
It may be one of the few chances to do so with a shy Norwegian.
Ah, so this is just a fun way to toast, to say that you're having a good time and celebrate the occasion. Skull. And and it comes from Vikings. Oh my god.
So enjoy it. Thankfully, they all tend to have very pretty eyes. This was an excerpt from my book, Working with Norwegians.
Wow, and there you have it. Norwegian drinking culture is fascinating. This was great. This was by Norway Guide, and I liked it. I got to give that video a like. That actually taught me quite a bit, because there are quite a few little nuances, little details about Norwegian drinking culture that is different than America, especially with how expensive alcohol is in Norway. Norwegians really emphasize bringing and buying your own alcohol a lot more than in America. And Norwegians seem to go very, very hard, like very passionate with the drinking. When it's time to drink, it is really time to drink. And Norwegians seem to use alcohol as a way to override their natural Norwegian instincts and really loosen up and get a bit crazy and really defy sort of their cultural social norms, which is true in America, but a lot of Americans are already pretty silly and crazy anyway, so the alcohol just really exaggerates that. So besides all that, there were also a lot of similarities with just, using alcohol as a fun social activity. That's basically what it's for in Norway and America, but a couple of interesting differences in Norway, honestly, which was really fun to learn about. So I enjoyed this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and Norwegian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.